Hello and welcome to pmblounge.com. Today we are looking into the top 7 things that you should know about the work breakdown structure. Now, there is a different video on this channel about the introduction and a brief overview of what work breakdown structure is. But in that video itself, I promised you that we will have more coverage of WBS on this channel because it is a vast topic. It is an important topic from the perspective of the PMP exam as well as real life project management. So today we are looking into the top 7 things that you should know about the work breakdown structure to understand it in a much better fashion. Now, again, one another thing to note here is that in the description below, you will find the entire playlist, which will over the time contain all the videos that we would do on work breakdown structure on this channel. Another important thing to note, subscribe to this channel to know more about work breakdown structure and other such project management concepts or the PMP exam details, right? Anything that you need to know about the PMP exam or the project management industry in general. Don't forget to check out the playlist section where you'll find different videos that we have covered on several project management related topics. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the first thing that you should know about the work breakdown structure. By the way, I am using the same example that I took in the first video, the same example of a WBS of a website development project. Let's get started. Number one, it says the top level represents the final deliverable or the project itself. So what this means is these are basically levels, right? 1, 2, and 3. So there are 3 levels in this WBS. And number one thing that you should know is that the top level represents either the deliverable or the name of the project itself. The final deliverable, which could be a website in this case, or just the name of the project. Let's say xyz.com. That could also be seen at the top level of the WBS. Point number 2, sub-deliverables contain work packages that are assigned to an organization's department or unit. So the first one is the top level, right? Others here, all of these are sub deliverables, right? Everything else that you see is a sub deliverable, be it UX, be it web pages, be it CSS. All of these are sub deliverables. And what this point is trying to tell you is that in the organization, all these sub deliverables are either assigned to a separate department. There could be a department called UX, and within that department there could be a department called images, right? You've got 200 people working in the UX department and 50 people working in the images department. So this deliverable will be assigned to the UX department, which contains 200 people, out of which 50 people work in the images department. So this deliverable will be sub-deliverable will be assigned to the images department. Now let's say there's only one person working in the CSS department. It's not a department as such. It's not a unit. It's nothing. It's just one person working for CSS. So this deliverable, sub-deliverable, will be assigned to the person responsible for CSS. So that is how it works. Typically, all the sub-deliverables that you see in a work breakdown structure will be assigned to a separate department, a separate unit, a separate team, or just a separate, single person who is an individual contributor in the organization. Let's move on. All elements of the work breakdown structure don't need to be defined at to the same level, right? So you need to understand here the word to is very important, right? All the elements of the work breakdown structure, all these elements that you see here, the top one or the second level or the third level, all these elements, they do not have to be defined to the same level. You don't have to break them further down, right? Let's say web pages, you don't have to break them down to, let's say, a home page, a contact page, things like that. You don't have to break it down to web pages. But let's say for images, you might have to break it down to images for the home page, images for the contact us page, images for, let's say, some other page. So that is possible. So what this point is trying to tell you is that there's no defined way of to what level you are going to break down your WBS, right? Break down your packages, or to what level you're going to decompose the work breakdown structure. So that's one thing to take note of. Although in this work breakdown structure, you see we have just 3 levels. You see that all these deliverables are broken down to, let's say, a similar level of sorts, not same, but it is, like I mentioned in the example, it is possible that you don't have to define the work breakdown structure. You don't have to define the sub deliverables to the same level. Some can, you might decompose at a higher level, let's say web pages, while some you might have to break them down even further, let's say images sub deliverable. Moving on, the work package defines the duration and costs for the task required to produce the sub-deliverable. Let's take an example of schema. So what all do you need, right? How much time will it take for you to achieve this sub-deliverable? The time, which is the duration, and how much money or how much resources it is going to take you to achieve this deliverable. All of this will be defined, right, at the work package level. So schema is a work package. It is expected that for this sub deliverable, right, the work package required for this sub deliverable, all the duration and all the costs associated will be basically defined, right? So that is what it is. The work package defines the duration and costs for the tasks required to produce the sub deliverable, right? So whatever tasks that are required to produce the schema, how much time they'll take and how much money they'll cost, that is all defined. And this is actually one of the most important reasons for creating a WBS, so that when you roll up all the time required and all the cost required for all the deliverables, all the sub deliverables, right? When you roll this up, when you add them, you can have a fair idea of the total cost of your project. I am pretty bad at drawing. I am going to mess up spelling cost here, but please excuse me for that, right? So when you add all the time and all the money required to deliver all the sub deliverables, you will have a fair idea of the duration required for the entire project and the cost required for the entire project. All right, moving on, the next point could be a bit debatable, where it says work packages should not exceed 10 days of duration. Now, I understand you might be working in an organization that says work package should not exceed 2 weeks or should not exceed, let's say, 1 week, right? So it depends. Each organization sort of had made their own definition they've given to how long can the work package take the time to complete, take the duration to complete, but the general standard is 10 days. So what this means is a work package, let's say web pages, they all of these should be completed in 10 days. If this is not completed in 10 days, then you need to further break this down. You need to further break it down into a level that gets completed in 10 days. Let's say you need to break it down to, um, let's say, the front pages, all the important front pages, you need to make them. Then that should be a deliverable that gets over in 10 days. You need to break it down to, let's say, blogs. So the blogs for that come under web pages, this should be a deliverable of the size that do not exceed 10 days. So if web pages is, let's say, a level that exceeds 10 days, then you need to break this work package down even further. So that's this rule. Like I said, different organizations may have a different definition of the time a work package can take, right, or should not exceed. Moving on, work packages should be independent of other work packages in the work breakdown structure. Now, this is important. The word here to note is independent. work packages should be independent of other work packages in the work breakdown structure. What this means is, let's say action handlers should have absolutely nothing to do with graphics. They should be definitely independent. If they are not independent, then you need to figure out how you can create a WBS so that the work packages are independent of each other. So that's one thing. It's important to keep the word independent in mind, because in our next slide we'll also see a similar sort of statement with not the word, without the word independent. So the seventh and final thing that you should know about work breakdown structure is that work packages are unique and should not be duplicated across the work breakdown structure. So in the previous slide, we talked about how the work packages should be independent of other work packages. And this is where it talks about how the work packages should not be duplicated. If they are duplicated, right? That is when you will find a situation where the work packages are not independent of other work packages. So images and graphics. If you feel that both of these are not independent of each other, if you think that they have some sort of connection, there is some sort of dependency between the two, then you should not make them as two different work packages. You should make them a similar, work package. You should make them just one work package. Call it images or graphics or whatever that you want to, if they are not independent. If they are independent, then of course you can make them as represent them as two different work packages. But at the same time, you need to understand that they should not be duplicated, right? If they are being duplicated, it's best to create just one work package. So that's what this point is about. Work packages, they are unique. They should not be duplicated across the entire work breakdown structure. So that's all that we had in this video. Subscribe to this channel and stay with us to know more about work breakdown structure. We are definitely going to deal with some more interesting concepts around work breakdown structure in the days to come. Check out the playlist in the description, and you can kind of bookmark it. If you are a WBS junkie, you will have all the videos that we do on PMP Lounge in that playlist. Check us out on our social media, facebook.com/PMP Lounge, twitter.com/PMP Lounge. I will also share a link to the scope management knowledge area in the description below. You can check out all the videos that we have done on scope management knowledge area in that playlist, or feel free to go to the playlist section of the of this YouTube channel. You'll be able to find all the relevant topics that we have covered in all the videos there. As always, you can send your queries at pmblounge@gmail.com. If you fancy reading instead of watching videos, go over to pmblounge.com, make use of our articles there, right? It is your number one free resource for PMP certification and project management industry information. Thank you.